Hello everyone. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and let's go.
The heat in Phoenix does not just sit on you. It presses down like a heavy thumb. It was one of those July afternoons where the asphalt shimmers and the air conditioner hums a constant, desperate drone. But inside my master bedroom, the temperature was sub-zero. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching Sandra. She was at her vanity, leaning in close to the mirror, pulling the skin back around her eyes. At 45, Sandra was still a knockout to the untrained eye, but she did not see it. She was hunting for ghosts. She was looking for the 18-year-old homecoming queen she used to be, the girl who had the world on a string before she settled for a public school teacher and a mortgage in the suburbs. "Do you think this lighting makes me look washed out, Brian?" she asked, not really talking to me, but to her reflection. "You look fine, Sandra," I said, looking down at the grading papers in my lap. I was a coach and a history teacher. I dealt in facts. The fact was, she did not care what I thought. She had not for a long time. I paid the mortgage, the car notes, and the credit card bills she racked up at Sephora. In exchange, I got a roommate who occasionally tolerated my presence. Then came the mail that changed everything. She walked in from the mailbox the next day, holding a heavy, cream-colored envelope like it was a winning lottery ticket. "Camelback High, class of '99. The 25-year reunion," she whispered. Her eyes lit up. I had not seen that spark in a decade. It was not love. It was hunger. "It's in 3 weeks," she said, pacing the kitchen, ignoring the dinner I was cooking. "I need to lose 5 pounds, and I need a dress. Not something from Macy's, Brian. Something real." "We're tight this month, honey," I said, stirring the pasta. The AC unit needed service and— "Stop!" she snapped, cutting the air with her hand. "Just stop. I am not going to show up there looking like a housewife who clipped coupons to get in the door. I need to shine, Brian. Just this once. Let me shine." She went out the next day and bought a red dress. I saw the charge on the alert on my phone while I was in the locker room at school. $800. That was my coaching stipend for the month. When I came home, I wanted to talk about it. "Not now," she said, closing the bedroom door in my face. "I need my beauty sleep. I have an appointment with the esthetician in the morning." I stood in the hallway, staring at the wood grain of the door. I was not her husband anymore. I was just the guy who cleared the path for her to walk back into her glory days. She was already gone, mentally living in a time where I did not exist. The venue was a ballroom at a high-end resort in Scottsdale. Crystal chandeliers, waiters in white gloves, and the smell of expensive perfume masking the scent of desperation. When Sandra walked in, the room actually seemed to tilt toward her. The red dress was a weapon. It was cut low, tight, screaming for attention. She held her head high, that practiced smile plastered on her face. I walked a step behind her, holding her purse. I felt less like a partner and more like a prop, an old, reliable sedan parked next to a Ferrari. We mingled. I made small talk with guys who were now accountants or insurance adjusters. They all looked tired, but not Sandra. She was electric. Then the air changed. A roar from the parking lot echoed into the lobby, followed by the entrance of a man who thought he owned the zip code. Greg. Back in high school, Greg was the quarterback. Now, he was a developer. He'd put on a little weight, but the tailored Italian suit hid it well. He had that loud, booming laugh of a man who has not heard the word no since the Clinton administration. "Sandra?" Greg's voice cut through the chatter. She turned, and the transformation was instant. Her posture shifted, her chest puffed out, her eyes went wide. "Greg! Oh my God!" He walked over, ignoring everyone else. He did not just hug her. He lingered. His hands slid down her back, resting on her waist, way too low for a casual greeting. "You have not aged a day," Greg said, stepping back but keeping one hand on her arm. "Still the queen." "And you look successful," Sandra purred. It was disgusting. It was a performance, and I was the unwilling audience. I stepped forward, extending a hand. "Hey, Greg, Brian, we had math together?" Greg looked at my hand, then up at my face, a smirk playing on his lips. "Brian! Right. Still blowing the whistle at the kids down at the stadium." "I teach history and coach varsity," I said, keeping my voice level. "Good for you, sport. Good for you," he said, patting my shoulder patronizingly before turning his back to me completely. "Sandra, come get a drink with the big kids. They have a vintage cab you're going to die for." Sandra did not even look at me. She just giggled, a sound I had not heard in years, and followed him to the VIP bar. I stood there, holding her clutch, watching my wife melt into the arm of another man. That was the first cut. But I'm a coach. I know how to watch the game tape. I decided to hang back and see how the play developed. The reunion was just the kickoff. A week later, Sandra announced she had joined the Alumni Beautification Committee. "It's important for the community, Brian," she said, applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. "We're going to revitalize the old football field. Greg is heading it up, and he needs someone with taste to handle the design." "Since when do you care about the football field?" I asked. "You have not been to a game in 6 years. "You're just jealous," she scoffed, grabbing her keys. "Do not wait up." The signs were subtle at first. Then they were bright neon billboards. First, it was the phone. It was always face down. If a text came in, she snatched it up like it was a live grenade. She put a passcode on it that same week. Then came the laundry. I was doing a load of whites when I found the receipt in her jean pocket. Victoria's Secret, $200 on black lace. I searched the drawer. Nothing. She was not wearing it for me. She was wearing it for the meetings. I started noticing the timeline. The meetings were supposed to be on Thursdays at the community center, but when I drove by the center one Thursday on my way back from the gym, the lights were off. She would come home at 11 p.m., smelling of a mix of scents. Her own perfume, heavy and floral, layered over something else. Sandalwood and expensive scotch. The smell of Greg. She would head straight to the shower. She scrubbed her skin raw, humming a song that had played at the reunion. I did not yell. I did not throw plates. I stopped sleeping, though. I lay in bed next to her, listening to her breathe, wondering how a person could lie with every exhale. I was gathering evidence. A good coach does not call a timeout until he has a plan. I waited. It was a Tuesday. Sandra was allegedly at a fundraiser gala with the committee. I was sitting in my recliner, a baseball game on mute, staring at the wall. The landline rang. Nobody calls the landline unless it's a telemarketer or an emergency. I picked up. "Hello? Is this Brian?" The voice was female. It was cold, sharp, and sounded like it cost money. "Speaking." "This is Linda, Greg's wife." My stomach dropped, then instantly hardened into a knot of resolve. "I was wondering when we'd speak." "I do not do drama, Brian," Linda said. "I do business. Your wife and my husband have been checking into the Omni downtown every Tuesday and Thursday for the past month. They order room service. They drink expensive wine. They think they're invisible. Well, I figured, I said, my hand gripping the phone tight. I just didn't have the proof. I have the proof, Linda said. Bank statements, toll booth photos, texts. My private investigator is very thorough. Greg is an idiot, but he's my rich idiot. She took a breath, and I could hear the ice clinking in her glass. Here is the situation, Brian. I have a prenup that is ironclad. It's thicker than the Bible and twice as strict. If Greg cheats, he violates the morality clause. All the assets, the house, the cars, the business accounts, they revert to my family trust. If he leaves me, he leaves with the clothes on his back and a leased Corvette. Does he know you know? I asked. Not yet, Linda replied. I'm going to tell him tonight when he gets home. I'm giving him a choice. Total financial ruin, or he cuts off your wife immediately and never speaks to her again. Knowing Greg, he loves his money more than he could ever love a woman. Why are you telling me? Because, Linda said, her voice dropping an octave. I suspect your wife thinks she's moving into a mansion tomorrow. I thought you should know so you can take out the trash. Understood, I said. Thank you, Linda. Good luck, Brian. The line went dead. I sat there for a minute. The pain I expected did not come. Instead, I felt a surge of adrenaline. It was game time. I went to the garage and grabbed a box of heavy-duty black contractor bags. I walked into the bedroom. I did not pack her clothes nicely. I swept her vanity into a bag. Lotions, perfumes, the expensive creams. Crash. I went to the closet. Armfuls of dresses, shoes, the new lingerie. Everything went into the black plastic. I worked in silence, systematically erasing her from the house. By the time I was done, there were 6 bags by the front door. The front door opened at midnight. Sandra walked in, flushed, her hair slightly messy, eyes wild with excitement. She did not look at me. She looked through me. Brian, she said, dropping her keys on the counter. She sounded breathless. We need to talk. Sit down. I did not sit. I stood in the kitchen, leaning against the island, arms crossed. Go ahead. I cannot do this anymore, she said, trying to sound tragic but failing to hide her glee. We've grown apart. I've met someone who understands me, someone who can give me the life I really deserve. I'm leaving you, Brian. She waited for the explosion. She wanted me to cry, to beg, to plead with her to stay. She wanted to be the prize being fought over. I just looked at her. Okay, she blinked. Okay? That's it? You're not going to fight for me? No, I said calmly. I knew about Greg weeks ago. Her face went pale, then red. You knew? Well, it does not matter. Yes, it's Greg. We're in love. He's leaving Linda, and I'm going to his place tonight. Good, I said. I pointed to the door. Your bags are on the porch. I put them out 10 minutes ago. She looked at me with pure hatred. You tossed my things? You are pathetic. You're just bitter because you'll be stuck here in this small life while I'm living in Paradise Valley. She grabbed her purse. I'm going. Do not expect to hear from me. I won't not, I said. She slammed the door. I heard her car peel out of the driveway. She was speeding toward her future. I was not there to see it, but Linda called me later and described the scene with cold satisfaction. It went exactly like this. Sandra pulled up to Greg's massive iron gates. She punched in the code. It did not work. She tried again. Access denied. She called Greg. No answer. She called again. Finally, the gate buzzed, and Greg walked down the long driveway. He was not wearing his suit. He was in a robe, looking pale and sweaty. Behind him, up on the lit balcony, stood Linda. She was holding a glass of wine, watching like she was at the opera. "Greg!" Sandra cried, getting out of the car. "I did it! I told him!" "I'm here." Greg did not open the gate. He spoke through the bars. "Sandra, you need to leave," he hissed. "What?" She froze. "But we're supposed to be together. You said—" "I said a lot of things," Greg snapped, looking back nervously at Linda on the balcony. "Look, Linda knows everything. She has the prenup. If I leave, I lose everything. The business, the house, the accounts. I'm not going to be homeless for you, Sandra." "But you love me," she screamed. "I liked the fun," Greg said, his voice cold and cruel. "It was a fantasy, Sandra. You were a throwback to high school. But real life is expensive. Go home to your husband." "He kicked me out." "Not my problem," Greg said. "Get off my property before Linda calls the cops. She's serious, Sandra. Go." He turned his back and walked up the driveway. The gate clicked lock. Sandra stood there, the desert wind whipping her hair, realizing she had bet everything on a hand she did not hold. I was sitting on the couch, drinking a cold beer, when my phone rang. 1:30 a.m. "Brian?" Her voice was shaking. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. "What do you want, Sandra?" He lied to me," she sobbed. "He's a monster. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I was confused." "Please, baby. I'm coming home. We can work this out. I love you." "Do not come here," I said. "I'm already in the driveway," she whispered. I heard the car door close, then the sound of a key scratching against the lock. It did not turn. I had changed the tumblers an hour after she left. A handyman friend of mine owes me favors, and he came over at midnight for a case of beer. She pounded on the door. "Brian, the key will not work. Let me in." I opened the door, but I kept the screen door locked. I stood there, looking down at her. Her makeup was running. That expensive red dress was wrinkled. She looked like a wreck. "Brian, please," she begged, pressing her hands against the screen. "I have nowhere to go. My parents are in Florida. I have no money. Let me in." "You made a choice, Sandra," I said. My voice was steady. I did not feel anger anymore. I felt nothing. "You gambled our marriage for a shot at the high life. You lost." "But I'm your wife." "Not for long," I said. I reached behind me and picked up a manila envelope. I slid it through the crack in the screen door. It landed at her feet next to the garbage bags. "What is this?" "A printout of the divorce petition. I filed it electronically an hour ago. It's done. And a copy of the deed to the house. You forgot, Sandra. My parents left this house to me before we got married. It's separate property. The truck is mine. The savings account is drained. I took my half. I left you yours, which I assume you spent on that dress." She stared at the envelope. "You can't do this." "I just did. Take your bags. Go to a motel. Go to a shelter. I do not care. But get off my porch." I closed the main door. I threw the deadbolt. I heard her screaming my name for about 10 minutes. Then came the silence. Then, finally, the sound of her car starting up and driving away slowly, defeated. 6 months later. The divorce was surprisingly quick. In Arizona, you do not need fault to divorce, but her infidelity helped regarding alimony. She did not get a dime of spousal support because the judge saw the financial records. She had been spending family funds on her affair. I kept the house. I sold the furniture she picked out and bought a leather recliner I actually liked. I started hiking again. I met a woman named Claire in a hiking group. She's a nurse. She does not wear makeup to go to the grocery store, and she laughs with her whole face. It's early, but it's real. Last Saturday, I needed to pick up a gift for my niece at the Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. I usually avoid that place, too pretentious, but it was on the way. I was walking past the center court, dodging teenagers and tourists, when I saw the kiosk. It was one of those stands selling miracle skin cream from the Dead Sea, the kind where the salespeople aggressively hassle you to try a sample. And there she was, Sandra. She was wearing a cheap, ill-fitting white lab coat uniform. Her hair was pulled back tight, exposing the roots she could not afford to touch up. She had caked on layers of foundation to hide the stress lines, but under the harsh fluorescent mall lights, she looked old, tired, broken. She was holding a packet of lotion out to a group of high school girls. They giggled, rolled their eyes at her, and walked right past without stopping. Sandra's face fell. Then she looked up. Our eyes locked across the walkway. For a second, the noise of the mall faded. I saw the panic in her eyes, the shame. She started to raise a hand, maybe to wave, maybe to fix her hair, a reflex of her old vanity. Her lips parted as if to say my name. She looked at me like a drowning woman looks at a life raft. I did not stop. I did not frown. I did not smile. I just kept walking. I walked right past her booth, my stride even, my head high. I did not look back. I walked out the automatic doors into the bright Arizona sun. I got into my truck and turned up the radio. I drove home, and I did not think about her once. The rearview mirror is for looking at what's behind you, and I was only looking ahead. And that's where today's story ends. Thank you for watching to the end. If you enjoyed it, do not forget to like and comment. We'd love to discuss this story with you. See you in the next video.